Welcome to the Sovereign Teacher. I teach spiritual integration, self-governance, and embodiment. So today is the new moon in Gemini, and so I wanted to combine a message from the new moon in Gemini with a message regarding sovereignty, so weaving those two together. And there's a bird that has a message for us too. Today's new moon in Gemini invites a powerful conversation about sovereignty. Astrologically, a new moon marks the beginning of a new cycle. Gemini is the sign of perception, communication, curiosity, learning, and choice. It asks, what story am I living by? And who taught me to think this way? Is this belief truly mine? So I woke up in the middle of the night last night and I was thinking a lot and I had all these questions and I was like, is the moon in Gemini? Because it kind of snuck up on me and it was funny because I woke up and I saw the astrology and the moon was in the new moon is in Gemini. So I was like, oh, that's why I'm thinking like this. Okay, for someone walking the path of sovereignty, Gemini's gift is recognizing that freedom begins in the mind. Before we can govern our lives, we must become aware of the thoughts, narratives, and identities governing us. Gemini reminds us that consciousness is shaped by language. The words we speak become the world we inhabit. New moon reflection, sovereignty. Many of us were taught to seek authority outside ourselves. Someone else knows better, someone else has the answer, someone else determines our worth, someone else decides what is possible. People keep looking to our government to solve their problems and realizing how ridiculous that is. Sovereignty begins when we gently question these assumptions. Not through rebellion, not through isolation, but through remembrance. The sovereign path asks, what do I know to be true in my own heart? And it comes up as this kind of, this is not right. Like seeing something out there in the world and going, this is not right. This doesn't agree with what I believe. And then we really need to look at it. What wisdom is emerging from within me? What am I ready to stop outsourcing? What conversation am I ready to have with myself, with another, or with life itself? Gemini teaches that every moment offers a choice. You are not trapped in old stories. You are not bound by old identities. You are not required to keep repeating a chapter simply because you've read it many times before. A new thought can begin a new life. So I just want to give you an example of what happened to me. I was a marriage and family therapist helping everybody else have great marriages, helping everybody else. I was helping my cousin with something, and I was not happy. I was not happy. I was sad. I was miserable. I was lonely. And I was choosing everybody else over me. And so I wanted to try to stop that pattern. And I had to tell my cousin that I couldn't help him. And when I did that, like the worst things happened. And I kept having this conversation with God. I was like, God, but I know you want me to be happy too. I know that I'm not the only person out there that could help him. And I had to make some really difficult decisions to choose myself. And I've been doing that, and it's kind of like the world's turning a certain way, and I had to turn it around, like in that Superman movie where you had to turn the whole world around. And it's taken a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of effort to turn things around to choose me. But in choosing me, I'm choosing me selfishly in a way, but I always think of everybody else. So even in my choosing myself ends up choosing others. It's okay. Anyway, new moon intention. I release stories that keep me small. I reclaim the authority of my own experience. I listen deeply to my inner knowing. I choose thoughts, words, and conversations that support freedom, love, and truth. I govern myself with wisdom, compassion, and integrity. I am sovereign. And a message from the new moon. Beloved, you are entering a season where your voice matters more than your certainty. Speak your truth, even if it is still unfolding. Ask questions. Stay curious. Let life surprise you. Sovereignty is not having all the answers. It is trusting yourself enough to discover them. The path appears as you walk it. So that is the message from the new moon, and I'm just going to get a reading from A Course in Miracles. I'm just going to open randomly to one, because usually it just supports. And we open to development of trust. First, they must go through what might be called a period of undoing. This need not be painful, but it usually is so experienced. It seems as if things are being taken away, and it is rarely understood initially that their lack of value is merely being recognized. How can lack of value be perceived unless the perceiver is in a position where he must see things in a different light? He is not yet at a point at which he can make the shift entirely internally, and so the plan will sometimes call for changes in what seem to be external circumstances. These changes are always helpful. When the teacher of God has learned that much, he goes on to the second stage. Next, the teacher of God must go through a period of sorting out. This is always somewhat difficult because having learned that the changes in his life are always helpful, he must now decide all things on the basis of whether they increase the helpfulness or hamper it. He will find that many, if not most of the things he valued before, will merely hinder his ability to transfer what he has learned to new situations as they arise. Because he has valued what is really valueless, he will not generalize the lesson for fear of loss and sacrifice. It takes great learning to understand that all things, events, encounters, and circumstances are helpful. It is only to the extent to which they are helpful that any degree of reality should be accorded them in this world of illusion. The word value can apply to nothing else. The third stage through which the teacher of God must go can be called a period of relinquishment. If this is interpreted as giving up the desirable, it will engender enormous conflict. Few teachers of God escape this distress entirely. There is, however, no point in sorting out the valuable from the valueless unless the next obvious step is taken. Therefore, the period of overlap is apt to be one in which the teacher of God feels called upon to sacrifice his own best interest on behalf of truth. He has not realized as yet how wholly impossible such a demand would be. He can learn this only as he actually does give up the valueless. Through this, he learns that where he anticipated grief, he finds a happy lightheartedness instead. That's what I was talking about, having to give up things. Instead, where he thought something was asked of him, he finds a gift bestowed on him. So the next thing I had to give up was my marriage. And I found this same thing, though. Giving it up, there was a lot of grief in giving it up, but I found lighthearted happiness on the other side of it, what I was truly looking for. Now comes a period of settling down. This is a quiet time in which the teacher of God rests a while in reasonable peace. Now he consolidates his learning. Now he begins to see the transfer value of what he has learned. Its potential is literally staggering, and the teacher of God is now at the point in his progress at which he sees his whole way out. Give up what you do not want and keep what you do. This is happening now to a lot of people, for a lot of people. It can be called an awakening. How simple is the obvious and how easy to do? Not really. The teacher of God needs this period of respite. He has not yet come as far as he thinks, yet when he is ready to go on, he goes with mighty companions beside him. Now he rests a while and gathers them before going on. He will not go on from here alone. Thank you, baby. The next stage is indeed a period of unsettling. Now must the teacher of God understand that he did not really know what was valuable and what was valueless. Yeah, that's hard because you start to question yourself. All that he really learned so far was that he did not want the valueless and that he did want the valuable. Yet his own sorting out was meaningless in teaching him the difference. The idea of sacrifice, so central to his own thought system, had made it impossible for him to judge. He thought he learned willingness, but now he sees that he does not know what the willingness is for. And now he must attain a state that may remain impossible to reach for a long, long time. He must learn to lay all judgment aside and ask only what he really wants in every circumstance. Were not each step in this direction so heavily reinforced, it would be hard indeed. So you will get reinforcement for it. And finally, there is a period of achievement. It is here that learning is consolidated. Now what was seen as merely shadows before becomes solid gains, to be counted on in all emergencies, as well as tranquil times. Indeed, the tranquility is their result. The outcome of the honest learning, consistency of thought, and full transfer. This is the stage of real peace, for here is heaven's state fully reflected. From here, the way to heaven is open and easy. In fact, it is here. Who would go anywhere if peace of mind is already complete? And who would seek to change tranquility for something more desirable? What could be more desirable than this? Okay, so that's interesting that we got the message on the development of trust, because I think this is what's happening, and this is about sovereignty. It's learning to trust yourself, your higher self. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there for the new moon in Gemini. And so it is, and so you remember.